Wild Strawberries was released in the same year, 1957, as director Ingmar Bergman's landmark film The Seventh Seal, and I regret to have to say that I don't think the former is quite as good. Wild Strawberries is a very good film with great characters, touching drama, and genuine heart and charm, but the portrayal of the protagonist is where it falters a little. The film follows Isak Borg, played by Victor Sjostrom, an elderly professor who embarks on a road trip with his daughter-in-law and a trio of hitchhikers to Lund, where he will receive an honorary doctorate. Along the way, Isak reminisces about the disappointment and loss in his youth, comes to terms with his loneliness, and realizes that he isn't so lonely after all. Wild Strawberries has many wonderful elements. The cinematography and music are superb, and the film gracefully blends Isak's reality and imagination. There is something indescribably magical about watching Isak wander through his past and observe from afar, but this sense of wonder is offset by sadness as we watch Isak's beautiful old lover Sarah, Bibi Andersson, marry his playboy brother Siegfried instead. Through these nightmares and daydreams, which show Isak losing the love of his life, his stern, forceful mother, and spiteful later wife, among other things, Bergman warns his viewers that the old days, which many of us will no doubt remember with happy nostalgia, may not necessarily be better. Despite this depressing implication, Wild Strawberries is still an optimistic film, as Isak eventually comes to set aside his sad past and value the close, intimate attachments he has made in the present. All of the main characters are complex and likable, and all share solid chemistry. The quarrelsome yet respectful relationship, which is deliberately reminiscent of a bickering married couple between Isak and his housekeeper Miss Agda, Julian Kindal, is particularly fun to watch. Ingrid Thulin, as Isak's daughter-in-law Marianne, projects an engaging presence of dignity and calm sorrow, and Bibi Andersson, as the present-day Sarah, is bubbly and childlike in such a way that she is adorable and not annoying. Anders and Victor, who both love Sarah yet get into a fight over their conflicting beliefs about God, are the only characters who feel kind of pointless. You grow quite fond of these people throughout their journey. As such, their sorrow and personal conflicts are honestly upsetting, and we feel relieved when their situations are peacefully resolved by the end. Character and dialogue-heavy films like this must allow the viewer to care about their characters, and Wild Strawberries certainly succeeds, eliciting strong sympathy and even affection for its characters. I like Wild Strawberries. Bergman and art house fans will be pleased to hear that I appreciated it more the further I thought about it, and after a while I experienced a satisfying jolt of understanding about the rich narrative, realizing that I had underestimated the movie. However, Wild Strawberries still has some significant flaws that bump it down by a full star. The film brings up the issue of whether God exists, with Isak reciting a very beautiful poem during lunch, but has nothing to say about this issue. Therefore, the 5 or so minutes devoted to this issue feels like an unnecessary diversion, as it has no bearing on Isak's arc. More importantly, I don't like the sheer bulk of expository dialogue in this film. Having the characters tell us so much about each other's lives and feelings, and showing us relatively little, is a very lazy way of developing them. And this leads directly to my biggest problem with Wild Strawberries. Isak's character is at odds with how the movie wants us to view him. Marianne, who doesn't like her father-in-law at the start of the film, would have us believe that Isak is grouchy, sullen, egotistical, aloof, and above all cold, traits which she now sees in her husband, Isak's son Ivald, but we see none of that on screen. Possibly the most powerful scene in the film shows Isak's own subconscious, manifested as a stern examiner in his dream, admonishing him for his egotism and coldness, but, once again, we see no evidence of this. Actually, Isak seems really nice for the entire running time. Sjostrom portrays Isak as an incredibly good-natured, sweet and compassionate old man, so much so that all these accusations of coldness feel baseless. I wouldn't care so much if the film, primarily through Marianne, didn't harp on about it so much. Victor Sjostrom delivers a marvelous performance, but since an important part of Isak's character is simply talked about through expository dialogue and never actually shown to us, thus breaking the show-don't-tell rule in storytelling, I don't think that Bergman, who also wrote the screenplay, characterized him as well as he could have. Consequently, it feels as if Wild Strawberry's narrative is missing a piece of its arc. We observe A. the heartbreaking events in Isak's youth that drove him away from people and made him choose a life of loneliness, C. Isak acknowledging that he isn't happy and needs to change, and D. Isak finding peace and fulfillment through the new friendships he made today. But there is no B. Isak's bitterness and coldness turning people away from him. C actually suffers from the absence of B, as the examiner in the dream is punishing Isak for negative character traits that are never once apparent beyond the movie telling us about them. With his much touted traits of aloofness and coldness being almost non-existent, there is less ground for Isak to grow and develop from, and the narrative, while engaging, satisfying, and uplifting, feels incomplete. Wild Strawberries is not my favorite Ingmar Bergman film, but it essentially gets the same recommendation from me as Lost Highway. It's a very good film, but not without its shortcomings. I would even say it's slightly overrated. Of the 3 films I saw last week, I liked The Dark Knight Rises the most. Don't kill me! Wild Strawberries earns 4 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.